Hey, so today we're reviewing a daily game I played. It was quite a long one, so I think it was, yeah, it's 60 moves. So I went to an end game. I played 91.4. My opponent played 84.2. So both played relatively well. I played as 1300. My opponent played as 500. So let's get into it. Basically, I sent my queen on a bit of a massacre and got lucky with lots of checks and strip material. So I open with e3 today on this game. My opponent responds with d5. I develop my knight. My opponent develops his knight. Um, I develop my knight. The engine's obviously questioning, so it probably wasn't the best move. My opponent brings a bishop down to threaten my queen. I offer a trade of bishops. My opponent declines, so I take theirs. My opponent takes my knight. Obviously that is now a free knight because I have this and there's nothing defending it. So I take the free knight. My opponent blunders here and moves the queen down. Obviously this now allows quite a good check here. My opponent brings a queen up to offer a trade of queens. I decline. Obviously, the rook is now boxed in, so that's the next thing I'm going to want to take. My opponent then obviously brings a knight, so I can't take the rook just yet. So I come down and take a pawn there. Opponent moves his king. I'm not entirely sure why. So I develop my knight, forking his queen and his rook. Okay, yeah. So he's obviously trying to sort of initiate a trade of queens. So I take his, he takes mine. But I just give a check here. He takes my knight. I castle to get my rook in the game. My opponent develops knight, threatening my queen. I give a check, which is obviously now going to win the knight afterwards. So yeah, my opponent is obviously again wanting to trade queens. I take the knight, back in check. My opponent moves the queen over to block the check. Back in check, and a pawn taken. Again, opponent wants to trade queens. No, thank you. So back in check. Yep, king moved behind the queen. Back in check. Yep, queen there. Okay, so finally taking that rook. Down comes the king. So I develop. Queen is now protecting the bishop. I take the pawn. Back in check. Okay, yeah, bishop is now protecting. So I come down here. Bishop is threatening the queen. So I move over, pinning the bishop. Again, opponent wants to trade queens. Back in check. Opponent moves the king over here. Back in check. I think I finally traded queens at this point. I can't remember. Yeah, I finally surrendered and said let's trade because I was up on material by quite a lot. Yep, so opponent takes back. And then yeah, it's just an end game from here. So double up the rooks. Give a check here. Opponent moves up. Give another check. Opponent moves up. So I'm going to make a queen. Couldn't be bothered to try and do it with two rooks. Okay, yeah, so opponent has now sacrificed his only rook. So I take it. Opponent takes a pawn with the bishop. I push just to sort of reduce the king's spaces. Opponent pushes the king down. I put my king there just to block. Opponent is now moving. So I'm pushing again to reduce the amount of squares they can run to. Opponent sacks the bishop off, so I take. Opponent takes a pawn, is it? Yeah. Yeah. So I then double my rooks, make a queen, um, and there we go. So I've obviously got this covered. I've got this covered. I've got the king here. Obviously the opponent can't run away here, so my checkmate is here. So bosh. And yeah, so no blunders, no misses, no mistakes, 3 inaccuracies by me, 2 book, 2 good, 26 excellent, 23 best, 2 great, and no brilliance again. I'm very disappointed about that, but never mind. But yeah, it was a good game. Yeah, I got very lucky. Sent the queen on a massacre, and it paid off.